Alright, in this episode of P. Willie's Barn, since we just do random things and share what we are doing and hopefully help somebody else, maybe show you how not to do it, more likely. I built this trailer, kind of a light duty trailer, probably 22 years ago. First time I ever did any welding with a stick welder. And I was on a pretty good budget, or low budget, I'll say. But I've got metal was from Iraq's from the guy down the road. I had to buy some of the angle iron for the sides. And I went with, at the time seemed like a reasonable thing to do, a Dodge Caravan rear axle. I don't know what year, probably 80s, late 80s. And I ended up extending the axle so that I could at least get this thing wide enough and be able to put like sheets of drywall and plywood in. It's worked good. It's a little over 5 feet, I want to say, and 9 feet long. Of course, it sat out here for a while. I haven't used it because my spring, I don't know if you can see it, but the spring is broken. You see it up in here maybe? Yeah, right there maybe. The spring's broken, and obviously you can't have that on the road. I limped it home from my son's house, which is like a mile away, and it's parked ever since. I'll show you what the spring should look like. It's got the rear shackles. I think this side's good. Oh boy, this side's not good either. So yeah, it's time. What I've got is I'm just gonna put a 3,500 pound normal new trailer suspension on it. I looked at getting these springs replaced. They're about 143 bucks a piece. But the funny thing is with this trailer is I never put shocks on it, and it bounces a lot. Hasn't really given us any problems. We have hauled so many things from state to state. I've moved a lot of people. We've hauled dirt bikes on it. We've hauled motorcycles, tractor, everything. We really got a lot of use out of the trailer. The one thing that probably in my thinking way was to center the axle the best I could to distribute the weight. I always had tongue weight. I never had any wobble issues with this one, but I am going to put the axle rearward a little bit. Who knows what I'm going to be hauling. I was trying to look up some calculators, but that's really solely based on how much load you had. So you always want to just have the load a little biased towards the front. That way it doesn't walk on you on the freeway like a shopping cart going backwards, which is disastrous. So there's a lot of information out there how to properly load your trailer. I won't begin to get in any trouble trying to give advice on that, but usually forward, making sure you have tongue weight. So this kit that I got was on Amazon, and I think you can buy it at any trailer shop. It's the standard 3,500 axle, or axle spring. And this is what it's gonna look like put together. You got your shackles in the back, which I need to also figure out where those should be. As far as the position, you definitely don't want it this way, you want it this way. When the spring loads, it doesn't just go straight up. The tire hits the ground here, and the force is this direction. So it pivots around that front. The spring collapses or expands this way and pushes that shackle that way. That allows for your spring, obviously, to the length of line. Once it's curved now, once it's long, it's gonna end up back here somewhere. So that's what the shackle's for. But I know on some 4-wheel drive trucks they go so high down that they'll reverse their shackle on accident and they'll have all kinds of problems. So you got to make sure that this angle, which I need to look up, And then the other thing I noticed on here is the distance between the bottom of the frame to basically the bottom of the spring. And also this axle is higher than where it mounts. On a standard trailer axle, it's just straight, and the axis would be right here. The axle would be right underneath the spring, and this one's here. So this trailer will set lower when this is on here, and I don't want that. So my plan is to cut these off, all the mounts that are on here, or at least just shave them off, because I don't think I'm going to be in the way. And then I'm going to mount probably, it's about 1.5 inches is what I need to go down. And I'm just going to buy a tube, go buy square tubing from my local metal shop, and I'm going to just weld that on here, and then mount these guys and weld. I think you can bolt these too, but I'm going to weld everything on. And yeah, that's the plan. So if you want to follow along, you can see how this progresses. Well, the first thing is to figure out how to jack this thing up high enough. But I keep going. I'm leaving it connected to the four-wheeler up there. It's not a heavy trailer. Well, it's heavy enough to hurt you, but I can't get this thing high enough where the wheels are off the ground. So I think all I'm going to do is grab the plasma cutter and just cut right through the spring and let it drop. The Miller plasma cutter, and I'm pretty sure the spring is going to be loaded. We're just going to see if it's going to cut here, and I'm going to make sure I go from the bottom, but I'm going to see how it cuts here real quick. Could be cutting better than that. I gotta adjust some things. Higher amperage. Okay. Might hit that with a hammer. Alright, well, the load's off of it. In fact, I think it's disconnected here. Oh, it's off, so I'm good. I don't need to do any more than that. I'll do the back. Well, hit with the hammer, it got it. It does need some adjustments though. It should be cutting better. Well, it needed a new tip consumable, but it's out of there, and now I gotta fight it out from underneath the trailer. Okay, I'll show a little bit. Basically, I just jacked it up here. I'm gonna lower it now onto the jack stands, which I just placed forward. And now I'm just wheeling this out of here. Oh, this isn't good. Perfect. This has got a flat tire on this side, so it may just go on out. Tear up my light. All right, I'm gonna have to jack it up a little higher on the sides, get it past there. It's out. No fun whatsoever. The one thing that's a bit of an issue is this is not the typical way for a trailer to be loaded. Usually the U-bolts are this way, and then you have a cap that goes right on top of the spring. which honestly, those springs look so small and chintzy compared to these. And I have a dual axle trailer where they actually broke in the same spot, but they're only like $70 to replace, and they don't take that long. You just cut all the bolts off and replace everything. So it's a few hour job, but then you got a new trailer basically again. And with this, problem is the spring is a little more narrow, so I will have to make a block to put in there. That way it doesn't shift on you a little bit. I mean, it does have the center pin that keeps it locked in from front to back based on your front point. Oh goodness, I might have to go see how much a new trailer axle is. Maybe these rims will fit it. I need new tires anyways. Decisions. Alright, well, I went to the trailer place up the road, and they said they want $450 for a new axle because it needs to be custom made because of my width, which I kind of expected. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to opt to try and get these U-bolts off. I'll probably have to replace those, which I got to find the right width. That'll be fun. I'd have sprayed them. I'll probably have to heat them too and get them off. They may or may not come off, who knows. And then I've got this piece of steel here. You buy the remnants, and I'll show you the place. Quick little shot of it. This is just one of my favorite stores. This is all remnants. $22. All kinds of drops. This is just going to weld on here, and I'm just going to cut that up into 4 pieces, just where it mounts. I think that'll be good. So I think the fun part's going to be is cutting this one off. This one I'm probably just gonna clean it off, just cut it off, and actually I wonder if I cut it here and put a little hole. That way I got a place to hook on, because usually we go underneath. This is just an angle, so I'm always afraid of catching my wires when I'm tying stuff down. Yeah, I'm gonna do something like that. Alright, I tried to get these off. I got one off, and it's not that bad actually, but I was not going to waste any more time on it, so I just cut everything, and then these should just come right out, hopefully. Ow, these are warm. Get off of there. This one was the one that was driving me crazy too. There. Okay. Springs are off. Alright, next dilemma. Springs nut is on the top, nuts on the bottom. That's got a place for it. But that nut clearly is not going to work there. Is this reversible? Will that come out if I take that off? I guess I could try that. Yes, it will. Perfect. Okay. Got that reversed. Sits right on there. I gotta make sure that I might need to figure out if that band is for the front or for the back. There's no instructions with these. I wish I would have paid more attention when I took this off, because it's banded too, only on one side. I need to get some more of these that fit this and have enough threads, and then I'm going to have to make spacers for the sides, which I think is, I'm not super happy about that, but man, the more I do this project, the more I'm like, I just want to go buy a new trailer and get this over with. This is only going to cost me $100. A new trailer is going to cost me $3 grand for the one I want. $30 later, and a trip to AutoZone. They had these proper U-bolts that I could use. I have a spring here. I did figure out from videos that the spring leaf connector usually is on the front in all the pictures I saw on the internet. And I know this is the front of the axle because this is typically where the e-brake comes from, so I think this setup is correct. But now you can see I got a bit of a gap on either side. I was looking to put some metal in there, but I have this extremely rigid plastic block. From the top, I have a milling machine, so I'm just going to notch out the sides. That way it'll stick in there, it'll be tight, won't come out. Plus this is not going to rust, so the spring can kind of slide up and down in between there as it needs to. But it'll just lock it into place, keep it from twisting. Really shouldn't twist, but I don't want anything moving. I'm not just gonna. The other springs were very tight, so that's my plan. Now to the bandsaw, cut these off, stick them in the milling machine, and let's go. The old Bridgeport. Just squaring the face up right now. Hopefully I'm taking enough material off. Nope. I didn't quite get enough. This stuff cuts like butter though. So I'm going to raise it up just a tiny bit. And make another pass. Are we going to get that high spot out? Or low spot? Yes. Okay. Man, this stuff cuts so easy. I gotta line this up as close as I can. Take this pass. A nice clean surface. That is super snug. There's no wiggle room in that at all. In fact, that should be basically, that'll be it. There's no movement hardly at all. That's really good. Perfect. Well, I'm going to do that to the other side. I bolt that down. Well, the other fun thing, this project is just miserable. There's not enough threads. So I made this collar to go there. I'm not going to weld it, but that'll give me plenty of threads. There's still lock washers with those. That'll work really well. I just happen to have that stock, which is perfect. And I cut them down and faced it on the mill. Oh, I know they're good and square. But of course they were a little not in diameter, so I have it chucked up here on my well, that only took a half an hour to put on those nuts and run them all the way up. I didn't want to cut it first because you can never get them started. That was not much fun. So now I got to tighten these things. And the directions say 75 to 85 using a crisscross technique. So I'm probably going to tighten those up a little bit, cut them off, and then I'll put my torque wrench on there and torque those guys down so that I don't have to worry about that at all. And then look at that, she's ready to go under. All right, axle's under it. Tape measures out. What I'm noticing, and when I tried to get it in here, is the wheels just, I had to kick them past this thing. And so it's pretty tight. You can see that it actually used to rub occasionally when it was loaded. This side's totally touching, so I need to shift the whole thing over. But my feeling is probably going to make it so that this is in line with that. That way when it comes up, because it pivots off the front axle and then that goes straight. So the axle will, as it goes up, will go in this direction a little bit, which is kind of, it's not going to be a lot because those are tiny springs, so that's probably going to be plenty of clearance if I leave that. The only bad thing is I'm not getting it back as far as I wanted to. It was here, and it pulled fine. I've never had any issues. So if I can get 6 more inches rearward, I mean, I could cut these off and get it where I was thinking to have it, but I was thinking about 6 inches. Oops, sorry. I'm about 5.5 from where it was centered before to that. About 5.5. I think I could live with that. It'll just be a little better. It's still got a lot of distance to the tongue. And this has to mount up, because if it's down, you'll never get any spring. The spring will just hit it down here. So it has to be this way, and it has to be shifted towards me and centered. So I'll have to find that dimension. In the back, I believe what I'm going to do is actually mount that bracket down so that when that bolt squeezes, it's not just an open C-section that'll just collapse. It'll be up. This will be welded here, and then it can't really collapse. Again, there's no instructions, but the shackle won't let that hit that bracket. So I think that's what I got to do, is find this dimension where I want it, somehow clamp those down, confirm it, measure it like 7 times, and tack it. And honestly, the level is good. The trailer's sitting level. Oh, well, it's sitting level according to the quad. So maybe I need to measure the height off of a truck, a typical truck. It might need to come up, but that looks about where I had it before. Huh. So I play with that. I may end up having to add a block underneath. Yeah, we'll see. But the trailer's sitting where I want it, and what I forgot to take into consideration when I measured the other spring from the bottom of this down to the perch, and then when I measured this spring, I didn't take into consideration all this length. And I also didn't take into consideration that there's a little bit of a gap here from the center of the spring. So I think that's why I'm turning out level. If I would have drew it out, thought about it some more, I would have realized that, but now I have a block of, well, not a block, but a tube of steel to use for something else. And this might actually set higher than I was thinking. I did measure to the bottom of that truck. It's 15.5 to the top of the hitch where the ball attaches. So I took this and I just used the jack and jacked it up. You can see the four-wheeler is basically off the ground, and got that level. So then it gives me a better idea where this goes. So it's tilting forward slightly. This driveway is not super flat, but it will have to come down on this side a little bit just to be able to get that shackle where I want. All right, tacked on. It's gonna need a lot nicer weld. I'm gonna take the tires off after I get it set. Hit my mark on this side, measured a bunch of times. All right, you should take your lug nuts off every once in a while and using anti-seize. I had heat and some krill oil. Finally got them off of there. I did just want to show you that you absolutely must clean your surfaces, and these flapper wheels have been very impressive I don't know. I think I got these online. I don't know, but they're out there. And I've seen other videos that if they start getting too worn down, you just spin them and put a torch on them, and you burn off all the fibers and you expose the sand again. Never tried that, but I know they do kind of go dull, but they're meant to constantly replace themselves with new cutting material, so they work really well. I never believed in them until I started using them, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. So I have another jack under there because I have this up on jack stands with a jack just supporting. I had to lower it all the way down, that way I have access. And I'm going to jack that back up, and then we'll go through. Alright, so setting this shackle, I think I saw somewhere, well, I did see it, they were saying use 24, I think in 7/8 or something like that. I'm sitting at 24.5. If you look at the spring, these are so short, but if you measure the length of line basically from the tip here along this thing, you want to make sure that when that flattens out that the shackle doesn't bind back here. And so those are about 27 inches, and if I go from center here to 27, there's no way that that shackle is ever going to bind. I know when well, it was 20 some years ago and I was younger and I really didn't know what I was doing, but when I put these shackles on, I had them back here, and when I stepped on the trailer I realized that the shackle bound and it wouldn't let the spring go, so I had to cut these off and move them backwards. So another one I saw was like 90 degrees, but there's a lot of videos out there and it's very confusing. You can't just look it up and say, what's the angle? Because I thought that's what it would be. Somewhere I saw like 90 to here, which is about what I'm getting. The wire's not coming out. And sometimes that happens. I probably kinked my thing too much. This gun's gotten a lot of use. Well, this side's welded on. I'm not the prettiest welder, and it's a little tough to get to down there. And then I got a bottle of the shaker can and just cleaned it up, and I gotta replace a board there, but power washed, got all the garbage out. It was nasty. Getting some paint on the shackles, but you gotta sort of go back and forth here with jacking the axle up and jacking the trailer up and moving it around, because I'm trying to move some of the stuff out of the way to be able to get to the welded area. It's super humid. It had rained, and I do not want to get under there. I gotta get her done now. It's close. Oh, and I went to my local Napa, Mullins, and I got a new set of tires mounted and balanced yesterday, so she should be all set. I did not go with the trailer tire because they were super expensive, and I'm not going to haul huge heavy loads with this, so this is a car tire, which has always been on here, and it's been fine. It's got hundreds and hundreds of miles on it with those. So there we go. Plasma cutted that stuff off. I gotta clean it up with the grinder. That's kind of miserable. It's kind of miserable, but that's gonna be good. Flapper wheel. Much better. A little paint done. Ooh, this side was stinky. All the rubber caught on fire. I don't know how I did that. I didn't get hurt. But I don't think I'm strong enough to pull it back down. I'm gonna have to use the jacks. Yeah, be careful out there. Home stretch here. 75. There we go. All right, U-bolts are tight. These guys here have the knurled ends on them as well. So I drove those in with the impact until they sucked that down. And then I tightened this by hand and then got it snug and then loosened it just a little bit because you don't want that. This has got to be able to slide. Not sure the best way, but there. All tightened down. All right, tires are on. Here's all that old nasty stuff. Tires are on. We got anti-seize on them. Hopefully we don't rub. Knowing my luck, we probably will. Let's get the jack stands off and see what this thing is gonna look like on the ground. If I can balance that, nope. I think I'm gonna have to lower one side. Okay. Get that out of the way. All right. What do we got? Well, the set's pretty level. Tires back a little bit. Okay, let's stand in it. Shackles are working. Shackles appear to be working. Boy, it's a lot stiffer. That's good, probably. Tomorrow, if it runs down the road okay here, I got a ton of steel. I'm just gonna throw it in here and take it to the scrapyard. All right, I'm gonna hook it up and take it on the road. Well, that was successful. It sits okay. The driveway's not super level, but I'm glad I didn't take it up higher. But it pulled down the road just fine. We'll see tomorrow. I don't see any broken welds. I took it through the field a little bit, trying to see if I could bounce something loose. I don't think anything's gonna come off there. That was a pretty successful build, I think. This is temporary, just because I don't have any wood to put on there. Anyway, that was a lot more work than I expected. Now I know I waited over a year to finally just dig into it. But I have a little utility trailer again. Woohoo! Thanks for watching. Take care.